Then you have MS-13. This is a bloodthirsty, this is a notoriously violent drug gang who is often left behind dismembered corpses, decapitated heads. I mean, it's bad. Recent Texas case had a member admit the murder elevated his status. He said, hell yeah, the crazier you're known to be, the more respect the gang gives you. My name in the street is Psycho. Okay, Psycho, thanks for your testimony. No more questions. Then there's the Holy Land Foundation. President Clinton declared Holy Land Foundation a terrorist group in '95. The indictment, Holy Land sent $36 million to individuals and groups tied to Hamas. Then you have the Black Panthers, physically intimidating people at voting polls in Philadelphia. Of course, you have the Weather Underground, domestic group that blew up bombs at the State Department and the Pentagon in the 60s. Then you have Storm. I love this. You should read this. Reclaiming Revolution. Spooky. A militant communist group here in America. Sounds like a bunch of crazy groups, doesn't it? But not everybody thinks they're crazy. For instance, Cynthia McKinney is actually on the side of Answer L.A. She's in bed with them. Former Attorney General Ramsey Clark in bed with them. La Raza. Sonia Sotomayor is a member of La Raza. Obama addressed the L.A. La Raza in 2008. Eric Holder. This is really interesting. Eric Holder on MS-13. Without any kind of explanation, has decided to step in and make sure 3 illegal immigrants in MS-13, 3 gang members, they're the decapitation gang, don't forget, that they don't get the death penalty. Eric Holder just did that. It's weird. Then you have the Holy Land Foundation. Over the summer, Valerie Jarrett delivered the keynote address at the Islamic Society of North America's annual convention. But if you read the New York Times this morning, you'd know that ISNA was named a co-conspirator in the federal case against the Holy Land Foundation, which was funding Hamas. Wow. Okay, got that one, got that one, got that one. Oh, and the Holy Land. Oh, Black Panthers. Oh, but you know what? Eric Holder again. Completely dismissed the voter intimidation case with the Black Panthers. Weather Underground. He works for the state of New York, and he's friends only through their children of Barack Obama. And again, Eric Holder led the last-minute effort to pardon 2 domestic terrorists from the Weathered Underground in 2001 at the end of Bill Clinton's term. Yes, strangely enough, the same president who came out this weekend and said he was afraid of dangerous domestic terrorists. That's weird, isn't it? I mean, I know Timothy McVeigh, but does he know these guys and the people he pardoned? And then, of course, there's Storm, the Overthrow America communist group, which was created by Van Jones, who now works at the Center for American Progress, funded by George Soros. Coincidence. So how and why is the left purposely, to use a word that John Lewis used this weekend, agitating the Tea Party movement? Here to explain is Andrew Breitbart, publisher of BigGovernment.com and BigJournalism.com. Andrew, you and I have been talking about this because, just being set up. You could feel it coming, and Americans aren't buying it. But I've asked you to, and you've been doing such a great job, on your website, Big Government, of just showing all of the videotape. Can you take us through just a quick history of what we do know where any kind of violence has happened?
Well, it really started to happen after the town halls in early August that were an unexpected uprising of independents and middle Americans. It wasn't even a Tea Party congregation. It was people asking their representatives, will you read the bill? Can you tell us what's in the bill? And they weren't prepared to answer any of the questions. And on around August 5th, the AFL-CIO wrote a letter, John Sweeney wrote a letter that was picked up in the Huffington Post that said, you need to get in these people's faces. They described the Tea Parties and they described the people going to town halls as an angry mob. So there was coordination at the organized labor to become the muscle of the Obama administration. On that same exact day that that memo came out, Jim Messina from the White House said to punch back. If they punch you, punch back twice as hard. And that was the night that two incidents happened, one in Tampa and one in St. Louis at the at the Russ Carnahan Town Hall. The one in Tampa was the one that happened, I believe, first, where you saw a guy who was one of the protesters with his shirt ripped off by Union thugs. It was at another event that Kenneth Gladney was called the N-word by two SEIU goons. The same day that the White House said punch back twice as hard, the same day that labor said to get into this fight on behalf of the administration, because organized labor were going to be the biggest beneficiaries if this bill were to pass.
I have to tell you, I have to write these off as a coincidence, even though I told my audience, radio audience today, change your life. For the next 30 days, don't write off anything as a coincidence. I mean, you look at the Goldman Sachs thing and, oh, coming out the same week as reform. Oh, that's weird. What a coincidence that is. There are no coincidences. And, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on.
Well, you want to talk about there not being coincidences. Let's just go to a week and a half ago where Richard Trumka, the current head of the AFL-CIO, the one that basically compared you to Father Coughlin and said that the people on the Tea Party side are a bunch of racists. He was the one that said that he's never seen an environment like this since before JFK was killed in 1963. And so you have Bill Clinton comparing this to a pre-Oklahoma City environment, and you have the AFL-CIO comparing this to pre-JFK.
Okay.
Those are two of the three worst tragedies of our, in the last 40 and 50 years that all Americans agree are horrific.
And I have to tell you, I mean, maybe I have my conspiracy theories wrong because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I thought everybody like me and Tea Parties were conspiracy theorists, and I always thought it was either the CIA or the unions that killed Jack Kennedy. Isn't that the... I'm just saying, he would know. Right, well, back with Andrew.
Yeah, I don't want to impugn.
hang on, go ahead. Andrew Breitbart is back, and we were talking in the commercial break about the unions, and we were both talking to me. I mean, he said, I got to point out that you have a lot of people that are in unions that tip you off.
Well, the unions are upset that their money is being spent on this type of stuff, and the SEIU is basically going into debt trying to get Barack Obama elected. They were the greatest beneficiaries from the health care legislation.
Right.
And the AFL-CIO card check is one of their major things, which helps to perpetuate the Democratic Party control. And there are a lot of guys in the union who just want to get better wages, that don't want to be part of this type of apparatus. They're the best tipsters that we have out there.
We have the same situation, and it's really amazing because they're afraid. And I mean, you're like, wow, you're afraid of your own people that are supposed to be taking care of and representing you. And it's not the rank and file union members. It's not. It's the thugs. And I mean, who doesn't know that the thugs in the unions exist? Of course they do. And it's unfortunate because I think a lot of people feel they're trapped.
Well, as we were talking about some of the violence that has occurred that has been union-driven, the IBEW Local 357 in Las Vegas, they were the ones that attacked the Tea Party bus about 3 weeks ago. And we were able to isolate the people that were part of the threatening of me. One guy threatened me with physical harm. The other people were throwing the bus. The other people were distracting, calling the police on me. We isolated two of those union thugs. One was making $111,000 a year. The other was making $103,000 a year. Andy Stern from SEIU is making $357,000 a year, and you wonder why their pension funds are going bust.
We don't have time for it, but I just wanted to get these in, America, because just so you know where the violence is. Union leader memo praying for Chris Christie's death. It's an amazing thing. And then the left, the boycotts, Van Jones Group, MoveOn.org, SEIU, and Jim Wallace. I don't think, would you agree this is an abuse of power?
It's absolutely an abuse of power, but yeah, it's worse than just an abuse of power, is that these things are happening, they are being reported, but the press refuses to report on real acts of violence, yet then allows for the Democrats to accuse us of the very things they're doing.
Use truth as your anvil, nonviolence as your hammer. Pound away, America. From New York, good night.